Hello, welcome to a little art vlog and craft room reorganisation. Today I'm going to be talking about doing some mixed media on cyanotypes and why I just really needed some mindless creativity and how that helped me. And then I'm also going to be doing a little reorganisation of my art space after a hectic couple of months at university because it has been hectic and this has gotten very messy. And sometimes we just need that spring clean. Let's get straight into the mixed media on cyanotypes. In a previous video, I showed some experiments with adding different media to fibre-based darkroom prints. And I wanted to do something similar with these early experiments in cyanotype. And I really don't like to waste anything in my practice. So these prints are those very first attempts at printing negatives digitally onto transparencies. I made a video about the process of printing onto transparencies, which will be linked if you're interested. You may have noticed a distinct lack of videos for a few months, and that has been because I've been grappling with university submissions, my work as the chairperson for a local early years setting, organising the next Analog Spotlight event, and generally being a mother and human being. I haven't had the time or headspace to make videos or even really make any art. My head has been so full of things that need to be done, and also academic work, that I haven't been able to plan any creative projects other than the cyanotype project I've previously mentioned. And that has taken its toll. So this particular activity was fantastic for just getting me sat down creating. I made no plans for this. I have my box of paints and fine liners next to me, and I took each picture as it came and just put pen or paintbrush to paper, mindlessly creating, really just to get a feel for how the mediums would look and feel with the cyanotype chemicals. These are on watercolour paper, so I knew the paper would be fine, but much of it is about the opacity of the chemicals and whether it would show up against the blue. The less said about the flower crushing, the better. For the watercolour, this seemed to be similar to the darkroom prints in that the wet fluid paint really got lost in the photographic image. It works much better to have a drier brush and a drier paint to build a colour with more opacity. I certainly don't particularly like what I did here, but the point was not to like the final picture, it was to get a feeling for the paint on the chemicals, so technically a success. For the sparkly copper paint, I didn't do too much with this, I just wasn't feeling it, but I can see how on the right print this would be amazing. Copper and indigo is a colour match made in heaven, but this would require actual planning on my part. Finally, I worked with the gouache and fine liners on the same print, and this was my favourite thing to work on, both in terms of the medium, I just love the feeling of working with this paint type, but also the way in which I worked. As I couldn't use my brain and needed a creative release, I opted to simply fill in the negative space with colour and pattern. Back when we hit that first lockdown and I was severely depressed, I started doing painting by numbers, and this felt somewhat similar to that. The feeling of paint on canvas or paper, doing something creative but also mindless and meditative, is just a wonderful release. So here are the final dry pieces. I haven't created anything that I'm proud of or would frame, but it was a creative practice in just the way I needed it at that time, and it made use of the prints that otherwise would have gone in the recycling. I feel like this moves us nicely into the next segment, and I have actually handed in all my assignments for university. Woo! Well, except one, but that's an extracurricular one, and I'm sure I'll be telling you about that soon, but let's just forget about that one for now. So not only have I not had the mental capacity to create, but also my art space became a dumping ground as I lacked the time and inclination to properly tidy things away. So what you're seeing here is items that were in other parts of the house which have just been placed here for future me, or present me in this video, to tidy away. But also various projects which are partially completed. For instance, I'm currently working on getting some of my art framed, and so we have some creative mounting that I've been attempting. We've got the mixed media cyanotypes, which I wanted to finish filming for you guys. There's the plan for my big cyanotype project, which is coming together nicely, thank you. My puck camera from Solarcan, which was supposed to be a video before Christmas but has had to be postponed and is still in process, and various other things. I know. So all of this detritus needs tidying, sorting, and finding a home. I feel like I've been through a massive process of self-reflection. Where that began is anybody's guess, but a good place to link it to was my creative goal setting back in January. I'll link the video in the description. I've been thinking about what it is that I want to do, particularly around my print sales, whether to keep the shop open or whether it's a waste of my money, and so on. Ultimately, I could just feel how much I didn't want to close my shop. With an absolute passion, I didn't want to close it down. And so I've kind of told myself that if that's how I feel, then I need to take it seriously. I actually sat down and rewatched my creative goals video the other day because I wanted to remind myself of what I said and how I felt a few short months ago. And my initial reaction was to worry about how I would have to take promotion more seriously, having said that I hated self-promotion in that video. And I do. But if I feel strongly enough about wanting to sell my art, then I really need to just bite the bullet and do it. When I was freelance last year, I hated promoting myself. I suppose because I wasn't exactly passionate about what I was promoting. I just needed work, so I was promoting myself as somewhat of a labourer, hoping to get some decent creative jobs that would make me feel fulfilled. I had no real conviction, though, that that was even possible. Now I feel like I have a clear idea of what the goal is, and it doesn't feel quite so scary. I also noted in that creative goals video how passionate I am about the book boxes, and so it does fit. At the end of the day, those goals are about joy, and doing this because I want to and because I enjoy it, and selling my art fits into that. I've actually closed my online shop down briefly. I'm going through a full redesign of my website. It has a new purpose, so it's getting a new look, and I'm also reassessing the products and the prices. I used to sell my prints for next to no profit, but I've been speaking to some local art galleries and art and craft shops about selling through them, which requires me to account for commission, and so I'm having to really think about my pricing. The prices at least need to cover the cost of running the shop. Anyway, all of this planning and work is going on in the background. I've already started making the new products, which I'm so excited about, and this spring clean of my art space feels like the perfect metaphor for what's happening this summer. The eagle-eyed among you may have noticed that I've also moved the space around a bit. I wanted the table to be under the window so that if I ever get the chance to create during the day, then I can make use of the fact that the sun comes through the window in such a lovely way. I really like it like this. I think this is a pretty perfect setup now. Thank you so much for watching and supporting. I really appreciate it.
And that's not really paint.